Hello everybody, this is DearMamasal, and it is Wednesday, and it's a pretty morning. It's going to be a great morning to watch the colours of the trees, for those of you who like to do that, as I head to town. They're going to be beautiful because the sun's going to be catching them, and people pay a lot of money for that sort of shot. We get it naturally. So I want to thank you all for the great fun of your responses to my Doofus times 3 report yesterday. Apparently a lot of you realize that being a doofus is actually part of life. It's not necessarily about intelligence all the time. Well, I'm sticking to that story, and a lot of you in various comments, both publicly and privately, have mentioned the fact that my humor around it encourages you to see it a different way. And I really don't see any point in beating up on myself any more than I do. Well, actually, if you're not going to be your own best friend, who is? You know what I mean? It's just like, if you're going to beat up on yourself, then you join a very long list of very stupid people, and I would really recommend that you don't do that to yourself. One of the things I learned very early on in my life, and it certainly has held me in good stead sort of since then, most of the time when I practice it, which is called positive self-talk. So I try and work really hard at making sure that what I say to myself about myself is supportive. Positive self, talking to yourself in a positive way. So what I wanted to explain to you, if you can just get your mind wrapped around this, if you wake up every morning and you beat up on yourself, oh, you're stupid, you're fat, you're too short, you're this, you're that, and by the way, in that sort of tone, well, don't be surprised if your life sucks. Really. I mean, if that's the way that you look at life on a daily basis, then your life will suck. Beautiful tree behind me in the sun. I hope that you can see it. Oh. Anyway, it's bound to suck. How can it not suck? But if, on the other hand, you wake up, now, some of you know I have a bit of trouble waking up in the mornings, but I'm very glad each morning that I do. Do you give thanks each morning that you actually wake up? I do. Well, I don't say I do it every morning. Now that I think about it, that would be a lie. But most mornings I try and make sure I acknowledge that, yay, I'm awake. And by the way, when you get to my age, that gets to be quite an important factor. I could quite easily not be awake. So, and I intend to wake up many more times between now and when I don't wake up. So, if you wake up sort of hating the world to start with, how can you possibly have a good day? If you wake up blaming the world to start with, oh, well, I'd be rich and famous if it weren't for the fact that, fill in whoever you want to blame. Guess what? You're right. But what I know about winners, oh, this is really funny. A guy in a dirty, great, very fancy truck decided to really tailgate me. You can probably see behind me. I've just moved forward because it worried me. The reason it worries me is I've got a dirty, great hook on the back of my car for my trailer. It's actually my safety device. If anybody hits me from behind, they hit that first. And then the bumper. All right, so the whole reality about this is that we create our own happiness on a daily basis. You know that. We've talked about that before. And do I think that everybody that you work with will be fun, or everybody in your family will like you? Do I believe that all your friends will be trustworthy all of the time? No. Okay, we got a bit of a snarl up here, which is not usual for this time of the day. Which means there is a problem somewhere ahead. Anyway, so absolutely not. I don't believe that that is reality. See, I think reality is that some people where you work are going to drive you insane, and some people in your family are going to drive you insane, and some of your friends are going to let you down, because that is life. Some people that you need to trust won't be trustworthy, because they're human too. The question is, overall, how is life? And really, when it comes down to the bottom line, the one person that you can trust is yourself. Or can you? So I know that there are a number of my viewers that are suffering at the moment. They're suffering with pain, they're suffering with illness, they're suffering with, pretty intense stuff. It's a flag person. And guess what? The person ahead of me obviously waved at her or gave her the heads up, one of these things, and she smiled. So I paid it forward. So I gave her the acknowledgement and she smiled again. Guess what? The person behind me did the same thing. It's catching. Being nice to people is catching. Expecting it to be perfect is stupid. So let's have a look at these different scenarios. If you've got people at work that you do like, make sure you interact with them. But you remember, again, how many times have you heard me say this? You're only responsible for your behavior. So all those people that really drive you insane, make a point of being nice to them. Don't sucky them, but you know what I mean. Say good morning, smile. Don't let them ruin your day more than they do. And I say more than they do because we already know that they do ruin your day. Because you're a human being. You allow them to do that every now and then. But the trick is to minimize it. And you minimize it by balancing with the people that you do like, or overpowering it with the people you do like. Somebody once told me that the negative stuff that we have in our minds it's like on tape, and you really can't rewrite the tape. If you've suffered abuse, or if you've suffered some terrible trauma in your life, the tape will always be there. And those of you who have suffered those things, you know this, because the smallest thing can trigger that tape to run again. And some of you really know what I'm talking about on that one. But a look, a voice tone, whatever. For those of us who suffer from post-traumatic issues, the smallest thing can create that tape to run again. And you go from being a perfectly functioning adult into something quite different. So what you learn to do is you can't erase the tape. It's that's why I always say that people who do damage to children, people who rape, people who do those sort of horrendous things, what they don't understand is they've scarred that person for life. Not just in the moment, for life. They will never be able to totally erase that tape. Now, a lot of people with a lot of good therapy, can learn to overwrite the tape to some degree. In other words, it doesn't start and end your day. What you learn to do is to push it into a back corner, but don't ignore it. You know it's there. You know the price you paid. But also, if you're lucky, you will develop enough, you will mature enough, you will get enough help that you can also see that your life in a strange way has also been given a gift because of it. And so I don't look at what's happened in my life necessarily as a bad thing. Oh, it was bad, don't get me wrong. It was really bad. But here is the thing. I don't think I'd be doing what I do today if I hadn't had that happen. I don't think I'd have the insight to recognize it in others. I don't think I'd have the understanding of people suffering from trauma and covering it. I don't think I would have that insight today if it were not for my past. So I see that as a gift. There's part of me that goes, I wonder if I'd have the sense of humor I do. Because I had two choices. Survive or not. We just went through a really foggy area and I can see sunshine up ahead. It's so exciting. So the whole thing about this is, how do you choose to live your life? Do you choose to live it happily for the most part, or do you spend most of your time miserable? And you will hear me say time and time again, and I know this from my own experience time and time again, that if you're suffering from any level of depression and it's being treated, that's the important thing, then what people don't seem to get is the treatment is meant to make you functional. The treatment is meant to make it possible for you to work, to be functioning on a day-to-day basis, to be able to get up in the morning and to, do more than just exist. If you've got the right concoction of medication. And what a lot of people don't seem to get is that if that isn't true, then the chances are the medication is not working properly and you need a different sort of medication. Not more, necessarily. Not more medication, rather a different combination of medication. And that's when you start to realize that, then you start to get control. What happens to most people is they're not functioning properly, so they go back and ask for more. Maybe it's less that you need. I had a situation once, and I know my friend Laurie as well had this happen to her, where she was totally over-medicated. And I've had that happen as well, where I went through a very bad period of my life, and some rookie shrink totally over-medicated me. And I want to tell you, that wasn't pleasant. And what did I know? Because it was the first time I had been in depression, so I had no idea of what that felt like, what that should look like. If there is such a thing as normal. We know I don't do normal very well either. But anyway, I mean, at least today I've got a much better understanding of it all. And why? Because I've been there and done that a couple of times in my life. And I've survived. But what I really do totally and utterly believe, you cannot think your way out of depression. You have to do your way out. And you've heard me say that before as well. In other words, you have to do things to make yourself function. You have to do things to make yourself happy. You have to do things. Not sit around and feel sorry and angry. What I really recommend is that you do things that are positive to you. What do most depressed people do these days? Sit on the computer, playing idiot games. How do you stop doing that? Well, first of all, you have to want to. Because that has become your new addiction. It's your new escape. I don't want to deal with reality, so I'll sit on the computer instead. And I think it's going to be a major problem in our society if it isn't already, because that's very, very not just intoxicating, it is very addictive. I mean, how many times do you hear them say most addictive games, or this is an addictive game, yay. Well, hello, listen to those words. It's that these games are designed, and believe you me, they are designed very carefully to make sure that when you get to the end of the game, the first thing you want to do is press the restart button and start again. Do better. Now, if the truth be told, I spend all day on the computer at work, and then go home and spend more time on the computer. Like last night. So what's the difference? Is there a difference? Not if it's not balancing out in some way. But I have a very dear friend of mine who is a lawyer. And do you know what his hobby is? His hobby is fixing other people's computers for them, for free. Go figure. All that stress all day long, and then his hobby is fixing people's computers. Now, I don't know if you know anybody that fixes people's computers for them. Gets rid of viruses, does stuff like that. But it takes hours and hours and hours of work. You go, why on earth would anybody do that as a hobby? Well, the reason is because you'd think that would be a downer, not an upper. But what he does is he multitasks. A lot of fixing computers is total waste of time. You're waiting for things to reboot. You're waiting for things to transfer. You're waiting for things to check. to do a scan, whatever. So that a lot of working with computers like that is what I call dead time. You can't really do anything. You can't, because you got to be there when it's finished, but it's dead time. So what my friend has learned to do is two things. Number one is he has a really good setup in his man cave where he can watch movies while he's doing this. He's also an avid reader of real books. And so what he does is he actually, by doing this work, gives himself time to actually relax. Very healthy. But he multitasks the relaxing. He's actually doing something constructive at the same time. It's a bit like those of us who upload videos and everything else. I mean, last night I had to... First of all, I was delighted. Did you notice that? I was delighted that when I had the camera charged, I found the piece of video I was missing, which was the final shot of the bread. And that excited me no end. And then what I did was until then I had put up just the video not showing the final shot of what the bread looked like when it was done. And then when I found it, I put that piece up on its own. And so that was quite a bit of work. But then I said, don't worry, I will put it all up. I'll edit it in and put it all up as one later, which I did quite late at night when it would take less time to upload. So, for those of us who do vlogging, the biggest time waster of all in vlogging is uploading. It's not doing the broadcast. It's not the actual vlog itself. It's the editing and uploading, because so often that can go wrong. And why does it go wrong? Rats, I don't know. Sometimes the program has a little hissy fit, sometimes your computer's having a bad day, sometimes your internet connection is sucking big time. It doesn't really matter what it is. It's just part of the problem. If you don't want to have those problems, don't be a vlogger. Because that's part of life. Some days the videos go up beautifully and you think, wow, this is so easy to do. And then other times it takes all evening just to get a piece of video up. And for whoever it was that wrote to me after I'd had my doofus day yesterday and said, thank you for putting up video anyway. It's my pleasure. Whoever you are, I'm sorry I can't remember your name, but I thought that was so cute that you would realize that psychologically I was really challenged. So many things were so stupid. But I thought, no, I am going to put up a video, even if it's an apology, I'm going to put up a video. And somebody wrote and thanked me for that. And I really want to tell you, you made my day. Because it was just like, oh, isn't that nice that somebody appreciated it? It would have been a lot easier, to just, well, what I would like to have said, and just not do it. But, the word they used really touched my soul. Whoever that was said, I'm so thankful that you cared enough to still put up a video. Yeah, that was very nice of them. And by the way, that was actually what was in my mind. There'll be a lot of very disappointed people if I don't put something up. And I can think of a couple. And to Emily, if you're listening to this one, Emily, as you know, is one of my long time viewers, for those of you who watch a lot. But when I put up the bread video, Emily writes, that's a lot of flour in that bread. Emily, what do you think bread's made from? Bozo. It's made from flour. I want to tell you, and it was funny because I thought some people could read that and think she was being rude. Well, of course she was being rude. It's Emily. Yeah, you didn't want to see a lot of flour in bread? Disneyland is not in Canada. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, hey, thanks for the laugh. Bye for now.